Okay, this is my second video, and I guess I wanted to also talk about experiences when I wasn't using healing plants. And the most wonderful, or the biggest one that I had was last year. I um, I had what I would classify as an spiritual awakening, a very extreme one, in my opinion. And basically, I mean, I started my spiritual journey and like 6 years ago, as I was telling in my other video, and I became a coach, and I went into after the mind processes will have like a limit, or so I felt, and I think it's still true. I mean, life coach to me, it goes up to a level, and then it it didn't really show me who I am, who I really am completely in a full perspective. So then I went into energy coaching, and it got into shamanism, and it was a cool certification to obtain, and I saw the results. I mean, I already had this kind of talent since I was a child, but in a way I didn't want to believe that I had this, because at that time my idea was that um people who had that were like special gifts. Now I understand that every human being has the ability to do so, and more, some of us just have like more developed skills, but everybody, I truly believe that everybody can develop such skills, and we have more tendency to have certain ones and than others, but I believe everybody's trainable. It's who we really are, really. And so I was finishing my transpersonal coaching certification, and I guess, I mean, I reached the point, that where I could see the results into my clients, and I could perform energy and healings and clearings and stuff like that. But for some reason, I still wouldn't feel part of the unity, and I still would apply everything that all my abilities, in a way to help others, and not to, not to myself, actually. And for some reason, the belief that it will work in others but not in me was installed in my mind. And something that I also, that it has changed also, is that I would have a horizontal relationship, like I am well trained, you're like my patient, I'm going to fix you. None of that is real, right? But I guess the mind or the ego wants to play that game, and I was in that state, and I still felt that I needed more. And I have always wanted to experience what true freedom is, and I have always asked that to the universe to give me that experience. So basically, to me, an spiritual awakening can happen in two different ways. One is by knowledge. I mean, you can learn things like read books, and then you get these aha moments. You grow little by little, and then and the other one can be intense and severe pain, right? And mine was that. Unfortunately, I mean, fortunately, now that I see it, I mean, I will go through it again, but at that time I felt completely lost. And basically, what I, in a way that I can describe it, is that all your wounds, all your fears become active at the same time. um, that's what happened in my case, now that I think about it. For example, a I had a very basic wound based on replacement. Somebody's chosen over me, or somebody comes to replace me and fill my place. Um, and I found out. I mean, I realized that started when my brother was born, and I didn't have a father, so I was living with my stepfather, and then I was the center of attention of my family, and my family is really big because my mom has 11 siblings. So, but I was one of the favorites, and then my brother came, and suddenly he was like the king of the house, and he was born with one. only one kidney, so he was like a crystal boy. I mean, nobody could touch it. He was like always being taken care of, and in a way, I felt that he replaced me, and he was born with more stuff than I was born with, like for example, a father, right? Um, but I didn't know I had that replacement, um, being replaced wound. I mean, until analyzing when I first started my journey, some of what triggered my will to go into personal development, it was that my love life, um, started with, to collapse in a way. And this was a very silly thing. This was 6 years ago when I was dating a guy, and then we were part of this group, and then I mistreated him, and then he went into with somebody else from the same group of friends, and I that hurt me a lot, even though I didn't actually love him, but just feeling replaced hurt me a lot, and that kind of unlocked a lot of sadness and a lot of grief that I had. But that was very, a soft experience 2 years ago, 6 years ago. But and then I went into big and coaching and stuff like that. But then last year, as I was saying, it was, that happened. Uh, okay, I'm sorry, I haven't planned the structure for this video, but I'm gonna keep talking. So when I say all my fears were activated at the same time, I'm gonna start, naming one by one. The first one was that I was replaced. Basically, I had a boyfriend, and I again mistreated him, and but this time I was more conscious. I could see how cruel or punishing I could be with somebody else, and that was a reflection that I was being that with myself too. So, but I didn't realize, or it didn't hit me until I went away for a training course, and he decided to replace me, like with another guy, um like in 2 weeks or something. And that really hurt me and made me feel alone. And you might say, yeah, but that can happen all the time. But this was a very particular situation, because right before that, I had a huge argument with my mother, whom I told you before that she doesn't accept me being gay, right? She doesn't approve it in a way. Now it's changed, but there's still stuff that she doesn't like or she doesn't want to see. But at that time, uh, I was hardly, severely discriminated by a policeman, and I recorded everything in video. And for me at that time, it felt I've always had a really strong personality, and I will never let anyone offend me. I wouldn't feel offended by these things. But for some reason at that time, it was so hard that I felt really empty. I felt like life was calling me. I remember thinking this, that life was calling me to make a stand for myself and for my dignity. But at the same time, my mom told me, don't post it online. I don't want everybody knowing you're gay, or what people are gonna say, and I'm gonna be embarrassed and stuff like that. But I decided to do it anyway. So I had a huge argument with her, and at that time I was working in her company. I was living in a flat that in an apartment that it was, um, hers, and so she basically kicked me out. And at that time, I at first I was really sad, so I was just gonna go away and that's it. But for some reason, I felt this need of I couldn't deal with that much pain of rejection pain. So I felt at that time that I had to punch back. So I started to go into a legal battle, basically for being fired also from my job. I was working for her, for discrimination. I know that that's a mistake now, right? I know, but at that time, the pain was so unbearable that I was just wanted to make her love her, make her love me, or punish her for not loving me. It was really hurtful. I was really sad. So I had this huge fight with my family, my mom, my stepdad, and my brother also, he took one side. So in a way, that was hurting a lot, and we had a legal battle, and I did things that I regret a lot. But I mean, it was necessary, I guess, and I'm gonna say why. You're gonna realize why after I tell you the whole thing. So that was one of my fears, I guess, being alone or being rejected by my family, and that was, I mean, that happened. So I felt like, um, I felt like they took me out of their life. Now I know that she was angry and she just said things she regrets too. But at that time, it felt really painful. But I didn't want to go and to embody that pain, so I went into attack mode. So I moved out, and I was so lonely and so hurt that for the first time I let a guy enter into a serious relationship with me, because I've always had my limits, right, and never had like a proper boyfriend. And this was my a serious boyfriend, an Argentinian guy that, um I guess I let him in. I shut down my my walls because I wanted love. So, and I never thought before that I would be a dependent person because of my personality, but I guess I became dependent because, in the first part of a relationship, I treated him really badly, and he was also, it was like a verbal violence between us, but we were still together because I didn't want to be alone, and actually I believe that I loved him, but at that time I realized that my idea of love wasn't unconditional, and I used all my coaching, distinctions and concepts to kind of make him, wrong, right? I mean, I was right, he was wrong, and so it wasn't a horizontal relationship. I feel like I was more than him. I felt that my ego was telling me that. So, but I still wanted to be with him, and when he replaced me, it did hurt me a lot. Like, it, I went into deep sadness because I had not only lost my job, my apartment, my family, but also now my boyfriend, and that that really affected me. I felt like trash. Basically, felt worthless, and I won't go into details on the specifics on why this was so intense, but I can tell you that all these fears that I had also at the same time exploded all at the same time with intensity. I was also, I always had a feeling of fear of not being abundant, because I used to work with my parents all the time and in their company, and I always want to leave that one and do what I love doing, which is, coaching or spiritual coaching and acting and performing. But at that time, I realized that I had a huge fear of scarcity, and that's basically what happened. I started to have less and less money, so everything happened at the same time. So to put you in to put it in a picture, imagine all your darkest fears and biggest fears happening all at the same times, and your soul wounds or your basic wounds or your core wounds activated at the same time. So I got into huge depression. I I I had I lost a lot of weight, and the pain was emotional, but it was also physical for some reason. But I mean, for you to understand me, um, maybe perhaps my wounds don't mean that much to you, but the way I can make you empathize, and again, I'm repeating myself, but I have to say it, is like, even, I mean, all of us, we kind of tend to, or humans tend to compare. My experience was worse than you, or I'm not afraid of what you're afraid. It's not that easy. It's not that hard. And so, but what I've come to understand is that we have different experiences, but the pain that we feel and the fear that we feel, it's the same basically. It's not the, it's not so much the concrete aspect of it, but it's what the emotion behind it and all your installed beliefs and stuff. So basically, it was like a horror movie in my life. It was the worst thing that could happened, and I found out that I had no confidence. I was relying, my being was relying in what I was doing, and all these titles that I had. I went to England to study, to Spain for masters. So basically, the image, the image of who I was based on everything I had, and I always um had the fear of losing everything because I thought I was my car, I thought I was my phone, I thought I was my trips, I thought I was my money, I thought I was my happy life on Facebook, I thought I was what others thought about me, and I everything collapsed and I lost everything. So, and at the end, I don't. I am thankful to the universe to give me that experience because when I lost everything, I finally found out who I really was, and and that it didn't matter if I was rich or poor, or if I had a car, if I didn't, or if people liked me or not. I was still Saeed. I was still me. And when I realized that, it was a huge aha moment for me. So as I was telling you, it was physical and emotional pain, and it was a sadness that I cannot describe. I had never experienced in my life. I even wanted to, take pills and take drugs, smoke weed and take anxiety pills and stuff, but they didn't work. For some reason, they didn't work, and I started to hear this kind of like a voice in my head telling me, none of this is gonna distract you, and none of this is gonna work for you anymore. Um, and I was like, oh my god. So I started to feel this like energy staying here in my chest, is as if I the sensation that I had for it is that I was pushed from a bridge with no harness. So it felt this vertigo, and it felt like this emptiness, and it was scary. And I will cry and I will hold into my bed and to my sheets and say, please stop this, stop this. I would cry for hours and I will feel intense pain, intense sadness. And I didn't know what was happening. And then I started to see, to listen, to hear these voices talking to me. So I remembered that before, when I had my shamanism training, uh, for a few days I was able to talk to nature, but I thought it was just, the something that happened because I was thinking that, or I was creating it in my mind, or it was the hype of the situation. But for some reason, I had like a access to a view where there were mountains and hills, and I would hear these voices talking to me and saying, you have learned a lot of stuff that you apply for other people, that not for yourself. It's time for you to believe that healing can also happen to you, and you have to be patient. And then I was so sad about my boyfriend that I did all these rituals. I remember in desperation saying, please, I want another opportunity to show who I really am. I'm not, I feel guilty. I don't want to treat him bad. I can do better. I know. I realize now. I started to have these whole aha moments and regrets, and kind of, it was very sad for me to see that everything I learned about love, it was mixed with fear and conditions and aggression, and expectations, and that wasn't love. I finally realized that wasn't love. So um, I started to become really like crazy. I mean, I would cry every day until things started to happen. I mean, I had this intense pain for like 2 months, and then when it was going away, some I started to hear these voices in the middle of the sadness to connect, but I still felt this fear, this lack of abundance, and I was like, oh my god. But when that happened, as I was telling you, I found out who I really was. I found out that everything that I lost wasn't me, that I was more for some reason. And so when the physical pain was starting, I went to see psychics, well, and coaches, transpersonal coaches, and people with gifts, and they kind of saw me and described me as being, as my skin being ripped off. So who I really was about to come out. I didn't know what that meant at that time, right? I thought it was I at that moment I thought it was life punishing me for me to learn stuff. So I thought life was school, or that I was gonna, um was given a lesson. It was karma. I had so many things, and people could. I had a friend that could see this little pebble here, energetic pebble, and he told me it's not completely gone, but something is about to, like kind of explode, and something's gonna happen. So, um, when the pain, emotional, physical pain was going away, I I sent an email to. I found out in Neil Donald Walsh page that he had these conversations with go coaches, spiritual coaches, right? And this is what happened. I'm sorry, I'm missing something before. So the pain was going away. I'm excused that I'm not. I didn't write a structure for this, but I feel like telling you everything. So um, things are started to happen. For some reason, I I found these books that I bought 12 years ago, Neil Donald Walsh books, and I started reading them. And at the same time, um, there was something weird happening. It was like a sense of joy, like a sense of happiness, like a will to dance and think and smile all the time. When that pain finished, that state came, and I mean, I've right before this, I was very cynical. I was very critical of everything. I had a lack mindset, right? So I would see what's wrong in everything. But for some reason, it was funny. I even my car was in the shop because I had an accident. I had an accident. I had a car crash. My car was. I had like three. I hit my car like 3 times. I, one of the mirror was stolen. Everything was wrong on top of the physical and the emotional pain. And then this sense of joy came through, and I couldn't explain. It was like something inside me. Like I feel it. I can describe a spiral of energy, kind of possessing my body. I wanted to sing and dance. Then um I went back with my boyfriend. I was happy, but he was at the same time he was not so happy that I was too happy. I'm gonna tell you about that later. Um, so I was happy all the time for no reason. I had a job that I hated, but at that moment I loved it for some reason, and that's when the when this state of mind of happiness started to appear. I found the books. I read Neil Donald Walsh books, and for some reason, I read on one of his books the name of Abraham Hicks, Star Hicks. So I got into Abraham Hicks teachings, and I would have never thought that I would just be listening to a ghost, right, or to a channel entity, and everything Abraham Hicks said made sense. And when I reread Conversations with God, it was like reading it for the first time. I saw things and I felt things that I never felt before, and synchronicities started to happen. But then, when I got back with when I had my car returned to me, birds would fly along my side. I will just have this coincidence. I will see Abraham Hicks initials in cars plates. I will see a butterfly that is on a cover of one of the Neil's books. Uh, that butterfly all the time around me. So I started to feel this immense sense of joy. And for 2 months also, or three, my brain wouldn't produce any negative thought, and at the same time no negative emotion. It was like if my um, reptile brain was, shut down. For some reason, I couldn't see anything wrong. Everything, I had this sense of trust in everything, and my life didn't change. I didn't become a millionaire. I didn't, you know, it wasn't like that. So I started to something started to shift, and in the middle of that, in the shift, I also went to my mom and talked to her. I told her that I broke up with my boyfriend. I was really sad, that I was really depressed, and I asked for forgiveness to my whole family. So we started to get closer again. So things started to go better, and but I didn't return to my old life. So everything was the same. We were rebuilding our relationship. I was still working in a not with a very high salary, so I didn't have an abundance of money, but no, none of that mattered. I was happy. I was connected to the source. I could actually, I remember going to my house and kind of thinking that Abraham Hicks was visiting me, because I would have these thoughts in my mind. Like I was channeling, I was writing automatically, doing automatic writing. And I should have written a book actually, but I was so lazy. I mean, I didn't think about the future. I was just enjoying the moment. So as I was reading Abraham Hicks and Neil's teachings, I sent an email to one of Neil's coaches, Annie Sims, and she called me. And that was a huge thing to me. She called me and told me, "I can see that you want to," because I wanted to study spiritual coaching. My dad, when we were okay, when I was okay with my dad, he said, "Don't you want to go to the States to study these things that you're reading about?" And I was like, "Yeah." He just offers. It was a huge opportunity. And so I told Annie that I wanted to become a spiritual coach, but first I told her everything that was happening to me, because I didn't understand why. What was this happiness, this something that I felt possessed for some reason? And I talked to her like 2 hours. She was really kind. And I couldn't believe that, a guy from Peru would just talk to the head of education of the Conversations with God Foundation. I mean, for me, that was a huge deal. And she was very helpful. She told me everything that I needed to hear. She told me that I was normal, that there was nothing happening with me, and and that God talked to us all the time. So she told me everything was okay with me, and that was a huge relief. And when she talked to me, I started something in my soul, like, and in my chest, like bumping and vibrating. So I found a path, uh, basically, because to be honest with you, I've come across spiritual coaches or spiritual people here in Peru, and they don't embrace the unity concepts. They still talk about karma and things that they, for me, it was woo. It was like a magical thinking. But what I was reading with Abraham Hicks and Neil Donald Walsh, and what she told me, felt like the truth to me. So I started to read every day, listen to videos and audios. So I started to kind of put how to put it in a way. I was starting to describe or put my experience into a word into wording. I was actually, what I was experiencing, I could translate it into words, so I could explain it, and it made sense. So it didn't happen to me like to most people, that they read first and then they have the experience. I first had the experience, and then I found words to describe it and to make sense of it. So because who will tell you I do automatic writing, or I hear voices? And I mean, for me, that before this, I thought like I'm becoming crazy. And then I could actually um act- I could, I would ask for a sunny day and it will come. I will ask for permission at work, and it will come when they, weeks before, they told me no. And this synchronicity, I had a sense of power that I just don't know how to describe it. It was like having a magic wand and creating everything. But at the same time, the things that I didn't create didn't matter, because I felt okay with what it was, with everything that was, with the present, with them. So, and I will notice that my friends or my family will say things that before will cause a negative emotion or a wound being activated, but that didn't happen anymore. I mean, I had no no negative emotion for 2 months. That was awesome. But then, one might think, okay, that's wonderful. You're enlightened and you can live like that forever. And that didn't happen. I mean, after 2 months or maybe three of that intense connected experience, things start to gradually shift. Not back to where I was, because now I had a different understanding, and I was still connected to the source and to my inner being, or to my soul, but for example, I noticed that my brain was, yes, generating negative thoughts and negative emotion. And at the first stage, negative emotion would arise and something will come and wipe it off. But before, I wouldn't produce any negative emotion. Then on a second stage, I would be produced and it would go away. And then on a third stage, and I think that's the stage where I am now, if my emotional or negative emotion range will go to number 10, now it goes to number 3 or to number 2. It's very hard for me to get like lost or possessed with emotion, right? It doesn't happen. But I am not in that high state anymore. So I started a course in the Conversation with God Foundation. I started to attend Neil Donald Walsh retreats. I bought a ticket to go to Abraham Hicks and to go to meet Neil Donald Walsh, but the pandemic came, so I couldn't. But since that moment, it's been an up and down journey. I mean, there are some moments where I feel more connected, and there are some moments where I just feel I've lost it. And that still happens to me. And I guess if I have to make the way I understand it now, it's like, at that time, what I think happened is that all this pain was required for my mind to shut down and to allow who I really was to come through, kind of with the healing plants, but without eating or drinking anything. And at the same time, I think it needed to be something extreme to, because that's, as Abraham Hicks says, and I say this all the time, that was the path of least resistance. And I asked for it. I really wanted to experience this freedom, this happiness, this level of connection. I mean, for the first time in my life, when I found out who I really was as a spiritual being, I felt I had a path that had no limits, no limits, and no, there isn't no limit in this. And with coaching or with healing techniques, I guess there is a limit, but or shamanism, but in this spirituality, new spirituality, there is no limit. And at that time, at this time, I felt this is my path for sure. I don't need to think it. I don't need to make sense of it. I don't need to justify it. I just feel it. I just know it. At that time, I just knew it. Now I believe it, because sometimes I just lose a little bit of faith. And I think this is happening for me to start to calibrate. And and well, I've received messages from my teachers or my masters or my guys that last year wasn't really the time for it to happen, that I still need to go through a process, and I'm kind of like upgrading my energy, but I still learning how to handle it. So, but I'm really grateful to life actually for this experience. I If you ask for it, if you ask me, I would just go through it again, but with a different view. I mean, I will be thankful for it because there is a before and after, and that there's a complete shift in my energy, in my mind, in my inner peace, in my inner happiness, in my sense of life. It's like I've seen truth for the first time in my life, and I found things about me that I didn't thought I was capable of. There is I never saw myself, and this makes me go into tears because actually I learned to be humble, but not in the way, in the sacrifice way or the religion way where you have to put yourself down. I just felt that I just could see myself in everybody's eyes, and I will hear people's advice, and I will just feel the wisdom in everyone. Before this, my mind would just classify people and say, here, listen to that person, and not to this one. But at that time, I learned, and I knew in my body, I had the body experience that we're all connected, and everybody has a piece of me inside of them, and I have a piece of everybody inside me. So this level of belonging, of sameness, and at the same time of being different and unique, that dichotomy, it's an amazing experience that there is nothing else that can teach you this. And what brings me to tears is that sometimes I do goodness for other people after being the most selfish person in the world, to find myself enjoying being good or being loving with people. It's just something that I'm so grateful to feel. And I don't, I'm not saying this to, for me to clap, or it's just so humbling. I don't know how to explain it. It's something that the ego cannot process. Is And of course, I have moments where I get disconnected as any other human being, and I, I'm starting to appreciate that it is that way. Because I mean, otherwise, I will be one of the special enlightenment people, and I don't think that exists. I mean, I don't know, but I'm happy that to still have this human side and still go through downs and ups and downs. I mean, even my coaching practice, it's changed because when a client comes, I don't see the person as a patient or they're in a horizontal, in a vertical way. I mean, I see it my equal and as my brother, as somebody that is coming to reflect me, something that I need to heal in myself. So, and it is a level of satisfaction that I cannot describe. And I'm so glad to have come to this time in my life. Nothing is like the way I wanted, like the perfect life. I still have more dreams. I want to expand myself more. I still desire more stuff, but I have such a peace. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of scarcity. I mean, I do want to have an abundant life, but now I know that if I don't, it doesn't matter. I'm still gonna be who I am, and I'm still gonna have a way to be happy. And this is this is who I am, and I finally found who I really am. So in this pandemic, I've had. I mean, for me, the pandemic is nothing. Nothing. This might sound funny, but when it started, I was just so grateful to see it happening, because I know what's at the end of this. I know it's like giving birth, and women can identify with this. I guess. Like, kind of, now that I know what's at the other side, I'm eager to embrace pain. And of course, I know people don't see it that way at this moment, but I know it's gonna be that way. I know just gonna be thankful at the end that we went through this. So for me, it's not a problem. I mean, I'm so grateful with the universe. I'm in my house with my parents and with my family, and I have everything I need at the moment. So um, yeah, basically, I'm so grateful to have had this experience, and I don't want people to think that I'm special because I had this experience or anything. It's just something that I asked for, and it was, as I always say, I like going to extremes, and I'm very kinesthetic. So I guess that's what was right for me. That was right for my mind to surrender. So um, I'm really grateful for that. And now, if you ask me what I want to do next, I mean, I don't want to work in anything else than sharing truth with people and helping in their way, because while I help them, they help me. I mean, I find what I need in others, and when I started this journey, I didn't want to do anything for anybody else. I mean, I didn't have this service um gene in me. I just wanted to go into all these techniques because I wanted to heal myself, and that was it. Life taught me that if I want to heal myself, I want to heal my brother and the room and everything around me. So everything is energy. So I guess I arrived to this place in a very particular way because I didn't have this um service thing installed in me. Now I do, but I do it because I feel good when I do it. I mean, I'm not sacrificing anything. So if you ask me what I want to do next, I want to continue in this. Perhaps I'm gonna write a book sometime or develop a method. But for now, I'm working in humanities team as a country coordinator. I talk to a lot of people here in Peru and in South America also. I'm starting to do workshops. So I that's what I want to do. I also want to create art, but with this pandemic, I'm a little bit, you know, I'm also learning to tune into this energy. So not everything it's been easy for me, and but I have this experience that when my mind wants to go back and believe that something could go wrong, I just know that's not true. Even if my mind wants to go there, I know it's not true because I remember when I felt connected and how I understood, my body understood, my mind understood, my soul knew all at the same time that everything was perfect. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know how to make sense of that. So, but whenever my mind wants to doubt, I allow myself to feel the fear, but I still tell myself, remember the experience you had and remember the truth that you lived. And so, I mean, I don't want coaches to think that life coaching is not enough or that I'm discrediting them or anything, attacking them or anything. But if you, if somebody else has asked me for a path to follow, I would just tell them to go and find who they really are because we don't need to learn anything to be who we are. So, in a way, I want to keep learning about spiritual coaching and energy working. I still have a lot to master. I haven't, my, one of my goals is to embrace or embody that state of being that I had for more time every day. It's not being hard, it's not being easy either. It's just what it is for some reason. I'm starting to I'm learning to calibrate. Some days are good, some days are bad. And and I have to confess, until recently I've been fighting it because I was thinking, why if I had this experience, I cannot just hold it and why do I have to work for it? Why do I have to do meditation, or why do I have to write positive thoughts, or control my mind. I mean, why couldn't it just happen through me the way I wanted to, the way it was like a year ago? But it is what it is. And um I guess if I have to make sense of it, I'm actually being trained by life, or well, myself, in co-creation with everyone else, to kind of tune into it, so I can teach other people to tune into it too, so they don't have to go through a huge amount of emotional and physical pain to see truth and to feel truth. I guess I was stubborn, and my mind, my ego was really powerful. So I needed that, but that doesn't mean everybody needs to go through that. I mean, as Michael Beckwith said, you can be pulled by your vision also, not just pushed by pain. So um, that's my experience. If you ask me what I want now, I want to reach that state. I still, my mind sometimes, wants to go to, oh, you want to be abundant, or you want to have this kind of life for you to be happy. But I know, because I felt it and I've lived it before. Actually, I don't need anything to be happy. I just need to be in the present, and that's it. Because I've lived it before. Everything was upside down. I was still happy. I would still feel love from God, from life, from the universe, whatever you want to call it. And I would just, I think I'm learning to, and I'm saying to calibrate to go there. So yeah, well, basically that's my experience, and I don't regret it. I'm so thankful to the universe for that, because I finally found a path that has no limits, and that I know is my path, and that gave me the amount of emotional freedom, and as Bishan Lacan is, to be unfuckable in a way, to be, instead of doing things. I mean, my state of who I am is more important than what I have or what I do. And to feel that, to have seen that, to have felt that way, it's priceless for me. And I'm not saying, I guess, to close this video, is that it is true, when you really ask and when you have an intention, um, the universe will provide, or God will provide. So if you think that you need to have one of these experiences to go to the next level, then you might have one. And if that's your case, I mean, good, right? We can share experiences. I felt really identified with Neil Donald Walsh, because he kind of related, wrote in his books about something similar. I mean, in a less minus, in a less scale, because I didn't, because a worldwide known author or millionaire, but who knows what might happen? I don't know. Um, for so basically, if if I have to tell somebody some only one sentence, it's like, your intention matters, and what you ask for is given to you. And in the path of least resistance, and that's perfect. It was perfect for me at that time. I didn't understand it, but now I will go through everything again. So I'm gonna finish with that video with that, and I will be seeing you on recording videos for you soon with more experiences. Bye.